evening, everybody, and welcome to Fire Up Michigan. It's been a while since I've had a chance to say these incredible words, but indeed we are. But we have the crew back here, and I'm glad to be able to talk about it and have some of my best pals in my home state, in my hometown. I want to go over and introduce the crew, but before I go ahead and introduce the crew, let everybody know what we're talking about tonight. The title of the show is Brad Holmes is Detroit's Einstein. So you can figure out what the Lions did all year. It was good, okay? We're going to talk about Brad Holmes, Colt Keith of the Tigers, former Tigers manager Jim Leyland. If the playoffs were to start today, the Red Wings would be in the wild card position. And Michigan basketball, how badly has it gone downhill? Those are their primary topics for the night. I want to let everybody know that Fire Up Michigan is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Fire Up Michigan can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X @TribuneSouth. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes and producing the show. And I have a book out there called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, which is old school media versus new school media. You can see the book in the right part of your screen, and it's available on Kindle and Amazon. With that said, let me go ahead and introduce the crew from top to bottom. We're going to start off with Smoking Jeremy Ballrick. It's been a while since he's worked with me. He's been working in the country club with Candy Ebling, but this time he has to work with his mentor and drill sergeant, me. Welcome back, Jeremy.
Good to be back, Scott. Let's have a great show.
Good to have you back, Jeremy. I always have fun when I bring you back on, just like Stephen A. Smith and all his cronies, okay? But I'm a little bit more mellow than not much with this cap or whatever. All right, and one of my favorite people of all time is Butch Davis. Butch, I love having him on the show. I go back a long ways, covering games with the Lions and Metro Detroit. Every time I get a chance to bring Butch on, and he's with the Sundance, Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Never mind. Everybody's in the nickname mood here, whatever. And if you want a high-maintenance individual on certain days, George Eichhorn is it. Okay, George Eichhorn is back. And he's getting double duty tonight because he's too high maintenance.
Good evening. Good to be back on, guys.
All right. Well, we have a busy agenda today. Just so everybody know that at the top of the hour at 9 o'clock Eastern time, we have the Sports Exchange. First and foremost, we're going to lead it off. Brad Holmes, this is not a Cinderella year. Boy, it's pretty hard for me to disagree with anything that he says. Okay. So, Jeremy, follow me up on that.
Well, the reason why he said it isn't a still Cinderella year is because he expects to be the same or better next year, because he has been the architect of this whole thing. The Michelangelo, Einstein, whatever you want to call it. He has built what should be a dynasty here going forward, because they're only missing a few key pieces, and they probably would have been in the Super Bowl.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, Will Vogel, good evening, my friend. Glad to have you back in the chat room where you usually reside. We love your contributions. All right, George.
Jeremy, please don't give me that dynasty talk right now. Let's wait and see them win one Super Bowl before we start talking about dynasty. That belongs to people like San Francisco and Pittsburgh and at one time the Cowboys. But I do agree with you that he has done a great job as the architect of this team, and the drafting and the signing of free agents and the development of players is top notch. No question about it. I mean, Brad had every right to take the victory lap, if you will, at the presser the other day. But the team is just, it obviously rose above anybody's wildest expectations this year. But don't use the word Cinderella. And I understand that, because a Cinderella team is like a once in a lifetime, or a flash in the pan, is whatever the saying is. Take your pick. And we don't think that that's the case here in Detroit. That being said, they should have been in the Super Bowl. I agree, Jeremy. I mean, they were just several players away, if you will, and they will be in there. I look for them to be obviously Super Bowl contenders next year.
Back to the chat room.
I agree 100% with Jeremy. He built a great Lions team that will continue to get better and better.
Couldn't agree more. With that said, go ahead, Butch.
Dynasty, I don't fall down with here. They made too many mistakes in the second half to be what you call a dynasty. I think they wet in their pants after the first half there. A beautiful first half. Second half, I'm hearing that people, I didn't get to see it because I was in Santa Clara, but people walking out of Ford Field with their heads down and a bag full of goodies for the kids and stuff for no reason at all here. I just can't digest it right now here. You can't do things that you did all season in a championship game because you should be settled on what you can and cannot do. And the Lions made too many mistakes in that second half in order for that to be called a dynasty there. There's a lot of more work they have to do. When you are ahead in the game, I think your job is to stay ahead. He gave up 2 points where field goals should have been kicked, and they weren't, okay? Those 6 points are the difference of the game there. If they kept everything the same, or even if San Francisco came back by 17 points or 24 points, you still got the lag of that one field goal there. So, again, it's sickening for me to take it all in.
Okay, back to the chat room. Okay, we got a couple more with Will Vogel. Here you go. Jeremy?
Says, told me a cool story that Holmes had been scouting Hendon Hooker since the 8th grade, if I'm not wrong, before drafting him last year. And that is actually true. What it was is he stepped down from being the national scout 10 years before Hendon Hooker was even in high school, in college and everything, and the draft. And he was going to school for his master's in leadership and management at University of North Carolina, Greensboro. Well, across the street from the apartment where he was staying, he would walk across and watch the middle school football team play. And that is where he met Hendon Hooker's dad and started watching him. And throughout the season, he saw something special in Hendon and kept track of him, kept in contact with the family where he became close friends. He spent family vacations there with his family, with their family in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is why he gave that phone call to Hendon Hooker and they drafted him in the 3rd round. It's great to be calling this Greensboro, North Carolina number because he had it.
Back to the chat room. I'll take these kudos.
Jeremy, you and Scott have taught me so much.
That's why I put it up there. Okay, I need to really pat myself on the back, right? Here's the situation. Number one, Hendon Hooker is a quarterback like many of them should be, sitting on the bench, okay, holding a clipboard, learning the right way. When the time comes, his time will come. He's smart enough. I'll just sit there and learn from Jared Goff, who did it right. As far as the Lions, I'm not going to go rehash the field goals. All I'm going to say is this. Brad Holmes has Red Auerbach written all over him. And in terms of dealing with this guy, you better watch out. He's a real smart individual. And if you want to know why, I'll give you one name, Jameson Williams. This guy can spot talent all over the place. The key for Brad Holmes is to make sure you hit on your drafts, which the Lions haven't done for many, many years. And when you have Jameson Williams a part of your roster because you made an in-division trade with the Minnesota Vikings, that's what has Red Auerbach written all over it. And that's why I titled this Brad Holmes is a Detroit Einstein. Okay. There, and that's how I'm going to set the record straight. Now, let's go to a Colt. We're going to talk about Colt Keith, signed to a 6-year contract in the minor leagues. Okay, I'm trying in my mind to justify this a little bit. I may not for a while. I may not have that long till the end of the show to do it, but I'll turn over to Jeremy. I'm going to let the crew do it. I'll see if I have anything left to say.
Well, the reason why they signed him is he had been lighting up the OPS as far as how he's been batting in the minor leagues. And if they did not give him a major league contract this year, he was to enter the Rule 5 draft. So in order to keep him and lock him up, they had to give him a contract. Now, do I agree they get as to how much they give him as an unproven MLB prospect? No, but I do understand the reasoning for locking him up.
Fair enough. Butch?
We're talking about the new Tiger that they just signed for
Yeah, Colt.
oodles and doodles amount of money here.
Yeah.
They must know something that we don't know. And for that matter, I'm going to give him a pass this time there. We should see this guy at second base this year, starting. Now, how long they're going to raise the bar for this guy, I have really no idea. The Tigers have done stupid things in the past. This may not be no different, or it might be a diamond in the rough. We don't know. But again, the decision is made on giving this guy a long-term deal with a lot of incentives with it, which I read, I wish I had the money in 2032 if I live that long here. But golly, this guy is set for the Tigers for a very long time if they decide to keep him there.
Okay, George, it's been your favorite topic on every other show. Now you have an opportunity to talk about it. Before we do, though, Jeremy, you know the drill. Back to the chat room.
DC 8091. Well, it's a calm night in downtown Baltimore, but I did get an awesome all grit lion shirt in the mail from Dad yesterday. DC Dad rules.
Okay. All right, continue on.
Oh, man.
Well, hold on. Jeremy's not done yet.
Okay.
I heard this guy can play second and third, and he's young. Tigers have good young talent like Torkelson Green, Parker Meadows, and a few others to add to that.
Okay, now it's your turn, George.
Yeah, left-handed hitting, third baseman, second baseman, the number 22 prospect in all of Major League Baseball. But the thing is that, like Jeremy stated, you don't want to lose these guys. If this is a prospect, they have high hopes for him. Granted, he has not taken a single at-bat in the major leagues, which I find really strange. The Tigers typically don't do business like this. When Mike Ilitch was still alive, the owner of the Tigers, he went out and got big league talent. Magli Ordonez and Pudge Rodriguez and Miguel Cabrera. And, he filled the roster with veterans and got to 2 World Series. They didn't win either one, as we know. But Colt Keith has a lot of potential. And the fact of the matter is, to me, it shows at least it's a new game in town. I know that's a cliche, but Scott Harris is doing business differently than Al Avila. And Butch and I saw that. I mean, we saw how they got run into the ground under Avila. They were going nowhere. So the fact that Colt Keith has a lot of potential is one of the main reasons why they opened up the pocketbooks. He had a phenomenal year. Jeremy already talked about his on base and the 14 home runs and 50 RBIs for Double-A Erie. And then I think he had with Toledo another 13 or 14 home runs and another 50 RBIs. So he's definitely big league, and it is a gamble. There's no question it's a gamble, but the team really staked their future on the young talent and to move this team away from the veterans and the has-beens.
I mean, if anybody wants to tell me that they're trying to keep away from the Rule 5 draft, I probably might lean in that direction. If you know you have a guy and you don't want to be exposed, then this is probably a good, convenient way to do it. How much money is he worth? That amount of money to keep him exposed to the Rule 5? I don't know. I'm not in the business part of the organization, and I'm not going to try to figure it out. Some people are wondering, why am I wearing a Miami Marlins shirt? Well, duh, I'm in South Florida, but that's about it. And the Miami Marlins have contributed to the Tigers' success by way of Miguel Cabrera. So I look at locale as why I'm wearing this thing, but Michigan or not, it doesn't make a lick of difference. But back to my point, if you want to tell me they're trying to keep them away from the Rule 5 draft, I haven't seen enough of them to be able to formulate any opinions. That's why I'm asking each and every one of you your expertise on it. Well, we talked about Jim Leyland, so let's continue as we move the show along here. Great activity in the chat room. Thank you for everybody for being a part of the chat room. I love an active chat room. That keeps shows going longer if it remains that way. So with that said, former Tigers manager Jim Leyland will be logo-less when he goes into Cooperstown. He's managed 4 teams. So, George, is that the right decision?
I think it is, and I'll tell you why. Because he won the championship, as you guys know, with the Florida Marlins, and he had a great career too with the Pittsburgh Pirates as a manager, and then of course Detroit. I mean, the only blemish was obviously in Colorado, but you know what? It's very difficult for people that are in that kind of position when they make such an elite group like the Hall of Fame. It is a difficult decision, and I'm sure he and his family agonized it over a little bit. I mean, he was really and still is admired here in Detroit and works for the team. So yeah, part of me did say, Scott, that I had hoped. My feeling was that he would wear a tiger, the Old English tee. But it doesn't surprise me because it's happened with other stars in Major League Baseball that enter the Hall of Fame, managers and players alike. And the fact that he did not win the championship here, I think weighed on him that, he had won it as the Marlins skipper. So I can see both sides of it. I'd rather have him have the Old English tee. And don't kid yourself. The Tigers would be well represented in Cooperstown at that ceremony by reporters, television crews, front office officials, and I think Butch is I'm gonna share a ride with Butch, and we're gonna go see it, right, Butch?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, George.
Don't hold your breath.
You can put me in.
I'm going to see Felix the Cat the next day too.
Okay. All right. Now we'll turn over to smoking.
I actually agree with it. And the reason why, as everyone has said, he had 3 teams he had a great career with, and he doesn't want to focus on them and leave out the Colorado Rockies because that was a stop, even though it was a blemish on him. But you know what? There's a lot of coaches and pitchers that have gone to Colorado to have their careers die. So that being said, I agree with him because he had the run where he got a World Series with the Marlins. He had a great run with the Pirates. And he was in 3 World Series with Detroit?
2.
Or was it just 2? Just 2?
Yeah.
That's right. We got on the doorstep and missed the 1 year. That's what it was.
Right.
So, hey, it's a great run, and I applaud him. I liked Jim Leyland until towards the end once they banned the smoking in the stadiums. He looked like he was out of place anymore because he didn't like chewing gum.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, I've taken a lot of pictures with Jim Leyland, talked a lot of baseball. You won't ask for a nicer guy to get in there, and I'm glad that he's able to get in there while he's alive. All right, go ahead, Butch.
When did they ban the smoking? I mean, this guy never left the ashtray alone. I mean, I covered him the whole time in Detroit, and he always had the ashtray and that old Marlboro cigarette ready to go. And yes, he did light it. So I don't think he let that go. I'm going to be the bad guy in this whole situation here. And the thing about it is, I think he would go in as a Marlin because that's where he won. But again, with him having those associations with those other teams, especially the Tigers, which I think he pulled off the longest link. But again, when he left the Tigers, okay, that wasn't on friendly terms, okay? And for that, I think he made the right move by not representing any team but Major League Baseball there because, again, he has been an impeccable guy, at least to me, okay, as a particular individual there. And I know for a fact there that he's not one to want to hurt your feelings unless you put him in the position to do so. And he's not shy in doing that there. So, and for that saying there, I just don't think he wants to bring bad will. I think what he's receiving right now, and again, it's not strictly from Major League Baseball, but one of the committees of Major League Baseball to hurt anybody's feelings. So in that case, that's why he's going in there hatless or with a Major League Baseball symbol on his hat there.
It was weird. Saw Jim Leyland when they celebrated the Marlins World Championship on a weekend. I couldn't go down there and see him wearing a Marlins, and I stayed up. It was against the Milwaukee. I just stayed upstairs. But here's the thing. They built that, and they bought that championship. And by the end of the following year, okay,
yeah, they tore it down.
They weren't calling them the world champion Miami Marlins at that time, or Florida Marlins as it was back then. They weren't doing it. So, to me, it felt weird. Had they have had 2 or 3 year run, but no, Wayne Huizinga got what he wanted. He was able to do something that many owners couldn't do. He bought a championship. It was a great year. The Marlins have 2 titles. A lot of teams don't have any when you think about it. That's not item number 1. And item number 2, there aren't many people that really enjoy playing in Colorado, but I will say Todd Helton and what do we got? Larry Walker. But here's a guy that really loved playing there. What about Mike Hampton, the only pitcher that loved hitting home runs out of Coors Field? He didn't care about what he gave up pitching wise. He just loved hitting at Coors Field. But no, not anybody that leaves Coors Field if you're a pitcher. Let me tell you, if you think I got concussion issues with headaches, Leyland had his fair share. He couldn't even handle a year there, and he got that out of there when he did. So
there you go.
I think as far as I'm concerned, it's the safest decision to not wear anything. Safest. So 2 more things I want to get to. Once again, Sports Exchange at 9 o'clock Eastern time. If the playoffs started tomorrow, the Detroit Red Wings would break their 7-year playoff drought and would enter it as a wild card, George. Wouldn't that be pretty nice to finally get the off their back?
Yep. And Scott, you and I have covered a lot of hockey over the years. Of course, the great years with Steve Yzerman and Scotty Bowman and, of course, Kenny Holland. It's taken longer than most fans and most writers thought. Okay, let's just call a spade here. I did not think that this team made enough progress in the last years of Ken Holland's regime. I mean, I hate to throw a lot on him because he helped, and along with Jimmy Devellano, to build this dynasty that the Red Wings had. But the thing is that it got down to a situation where they just didn't have top picks like in the draft because they were playing so well and winning so much that obviously, at least in the first round, you draft much lower, as you know. And now the fact that Yzerman has been under the microscope by some, I'm going to say by some fans, not all of them, as you said, Scott, 7 years without making the playoffs. I mean, but let's think positive. Okay, so what he's done this year is he's gone back, and I think you guys have seen this, he's gone back to the free agency and picked a lot of guys specifically that could play on a team like this under this coaching staff and that have veteran presence or veteran leadership or playoff experience. I think it was a brilliant move by Yzerman to do that. He knows, and everybody knows, that the crowds were getting restless, the people, the fans. So I think it was good. And no, he did not give up on the youth movement. There's still guys like Joey Vellino and younger guys on the team right now, of course, Rasmussen and Moritz Snyder. So no, he hasn't given up on it. The fact of the matter is he saw an opening with a lot of these guys, and I applaud him because within that first week of July, whatever it was with the free agency, he's done well. So yes, Scott, they're in the thick of things. If they can get solid goaltending and they can keep, 10 guys now are in double figures on goals. So the future looks bright. Newsy, the coach, has done a great job, and I really think that hockey is back here in Detroit. I'm glad to see it.
Turn over to Butch.
I'm in between places here because I'm not happy with the Red Wings defense at all. And if they don't play defense, they'll be in the same position that they will be in last year and the years before. The talent that they have this year, I think Steve Yzerman got smart and got people who wanted to be here. I think that is very important via just getting a veteran to bring him in town, pay him some money, and just do until things all fall apart. He has had that the last 2 years. He's had now people who want to be here. DeBrincat wanted to be here, via hometown, or this is a team that they watch for years and years and years. He had players now who want to be here. I think the Red Wings have to buy in of playing defense. They've had some good goaltending. The goaltending has not been supported by defensive moves there. And if they're going to go far in the playoffs or just anywhere near close to the playoffs, the Red Wings have to do a better job on defense there. This is an offensive game, but this is not the all-star game where 3-on-3 is going on. You got to have 5 people out there, and the better teams right now, the Vegas Knights, and other teams that are playing right now, they have a very good defensive staff that is full and is plentiful and gives the job done and gives also the goaltender somewhat a break there every now and then there. So I won't be happy until Red Wings play a better call for defense there. That's just my opinion, and people can say what they want. I'm happy where they are right now, but they want to stay that way or get better. They have to play some defense.
Jeremy?
I agree they need to play better defense, but if you look at how they're playing overall as a team, and it is a team sport, just like many other sports that are out there, including football, baseball, basketball, hockey, those are team sports. There's no I in team. Granted, there's a lot of individual players, but they're playing well as teammates. And that's the biggest thing I see is I see a lot of chemistry in this team, like we've been missing over the past 6 years. So this chemistry is why they're winning. It's not so much that they're playing defense, but they actually are doing pretty good on penalty kill and really good on the power play lately, which is something that I remember the heyday of the Red Wings being, is good on the power play and able to kill some penalties every now and then. And that's a good thing to see. It's a nice problem to have when you're winning those more than you're losing them.
Okay, the only thing I'll say about it is I'm not doubting anything. The only thing I'll say is I'm not doubting anything Steve Yzerman does. In fact, I won't even doubt him because I mentioned him in my book that he's doing a heck of a job with the Wings this time around. Item number 1. Number 2, okay, carrying 3 goaltenders and snapping up Alex Lyon has to be the one move that they're really thankful that they made, because I don't trust James Reimer. Billy Husso's all right, but Alex Lyon to me would be an MVP. And I'll double up what Butch said. They're bringing in guys that want to be here. What else can you say? I don't know enough about the coach, Derek Newsy. Is that what they call him? Newsy Lalone? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever. All these nicknames here that I don't know anything about. I'm only 1,200 miles away from a newsy. All I do is give news. Okay, without the Y. Okay. But still, regardless of that, sounds like a good coach. We'll see what happens. I just hope and pray that they're able to get that monkey out their back, wild card, whatever, get that drought out of the way. And you know what? Everybody knows with winning organizations, you're going to draft near the bottom of the rounds anyways. Hey, even the Lions are going to be 29th this year in the first round. So when you win, you draft later. That's when you make your picks count, period. Final topic of the night. Is it time for Michigan basketball to move on from Juwan Howard? You know what, Butch? I'm going to let you start off with this one.
Well, he got his kid in in professional basketball there, so that job is done. Unlike a lot of other coaches here at UAD and Mercy and all these other schools there. I think he needs to bring in some friends. I think he needs to get some coaching staff that has some type of chemistry with him at University of Michigan. I don't think he has that. I mean, knowing Juwan Howard the way I do, I think he got some kids that basically won't get in trouble or won't, push the panic bell and transfer to another school. So that's always a good thing. But I just think he's lacking coaching, okay? To say Juwan Howard is not a good coach is very unfair because, again, this guy has went through some health problems, some radical problems there that basically right now he has nothing to do with but God here. So I just think he needs to bring in some friends. When I say friends, some coaches, some coaching staff, I mean, King is available, maybe a Jalen Rose will come on in more than they just coming in for a local visit and taking a portrait or something there. I think he needs to have some people come in there and show these kids how to work together as a unit there, because they don't have that right now at University of Michigan, and that's where they're really lacking at there.
Okay, George.
Yeah, guys, it's really been a frustrating year. I know for sure. Who would have thought 7-15 for Juwan Howard and 2-9 entering tonight's game in the Big Ten? So the season's over. So the only thing he can shoot for now, obviously, is to try to upset Michigan State because they got a rematch with them coming up. But the fact of the matter is like you alluded to, Butch, the man's been going through a lot. Okay, he had very serious issues, his heart, and he had an operation. And remember the suspension, remember the slapping match that he had with a Big Ten fellow coach, and that really, really upset, I'm sure, Ward Manuel and the athletic department at U of M. So you know, it's not just hands free on this one. I mean, Juwan sometimes says wrong things to people, but he's more. They knew that going in. I mean, he's outspoken. He's a good man. He means well. So he had a little meltdown. Okay, but the fact of the health matter is the one that really concerns me. And you know, to have enough help on the bench and coaching staff is crucial. But don't forget the recruiting; they're getting taken to the cleaners on the recruiting. The last couple of years, they're not getting the kids to come to U of M, or they're changing their minds, you know, and they opt and go somewhere else. I mean, you know, Michigan's always going to be obviously number 2 to Izzo and the Spartans in the state of Michigan. But most people didn't predict they'd get this bad. But then again, a lot of guys wanted to go. I mean, you know, the portal players were leaving. Other ones declared for the NBA. So he lost a lot of good talent there. It's going to take a while, I think, Scott. But I think they, you know, if they get him some more help and support as far as the support staff, the coaching staff, I still would like to give him another chance, another couple of years.
Yeah, didn't Hunter Dickinson leave, I think, for Kansas, if I remember right?
Yes.
You don't want to lose him. That's all. All
Right.
right, Jeremy, go ahead. I'll have a final word on it. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I'm going to say yes. I mean, after everything he's been through and to be failing this bad when it wasn't expected, he was expected to be competing with MSU for the Big Ten title this year, and I don't see it. We're getting worse on defense. We're not scoring as good. What is he doing with player development?
You don't have any.
Right.
Exactly. That's my point. If he doesn't get these one and done guys that he was getting the first couple of years, he can't do anything.
All right. The only thing
you gotta bring. He gotta have a better. He gotta get better coaching people in there. Okay. And I don't think, you know, it would do Michigan proud to bring a Jalen Rose in or a King in, okay, or some other buddies to come on in and help him coach. That would bring some spirit back to the players involving in that particular program. I don't think it's the players I just think his coaching staff stinks, man. And he's not going to get anywhere until he addressed that fully here.
I've always liked Bill Martelli, so I'm not going to say anything derogatory about him.
Bill Martelli's cool here. You know, that's the only one that's really
right. That's my point. That's totally my point. I agree with you, Butch. I think Jalen Rose would be great. Question is it too late to bring him in? That's another story. Here's my thing. I believe that it is time for Juwan Howard to join Patrick Ewing, not coaching his alma mater anymore, period. I think the Michigan Wolverines need a new coach. And I'll say one last thing before we wrap this show up, is it's not getting any easier with Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA coming in next year either. So if you think you're near the bottom of the Big Ten now, get down there a little further with 4 more newcomers in there, and they're going to be very deep down in the Big Ten. If you think that little old commercial from East Coast all the way is wide, the gap
I'm an Oregon graduate, man. I'm welcoming the rear end kickings here, you know.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Butch.
I'm an Oregon graduate here, man. So I'm welcoming the rear end kickings.
All right, well, then there you go. The Wolverines will look like duck soup by the time if he comes back there, and there was a pun intended there. And I knew that you would gravitate to that. With that said, this concludes this edition of Fire Up Michigan. I want to go over it one more time that Fire Up Michigan is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Fire Up Michigan can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube South Florida Tribune. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room. Really busy chat room tonight. Glad to see it. Send your topic ideas, South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter /X at Tribune South. Candy Eveling is behind the scenes and producing the show. I have a book called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders in the top right part of your screen. It emphasizes old school media versus new school media. Available on Kindle and Amazon. With that said, before we wrap this bad boy up, George Eichhorn, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can get a hold of me at the South Florida Tribune. I write for the Motor City Tribune and the Detroit Monitor. And there's always a link at the end of my column. My book is still out there called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. In fact, that'd be great companion to Scott's book and my book, and you'll be all set for your reading pleasure. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. You can also reach me on LinkedIn at SanGSports99. You can follow me also on any number of shows, including 108 Stitches, the Sports Exchange, Fire Up, and Pundits Pundit. And also, I'll be looking forward to seeing you, all of you, viewers and listeners.
Jeremy?
Well, you can find me on the SouthFloridaTribune.com underneath writers such as Scott Morganroth and George Eichhorn. You can also find me right here on any of the Fire Up shows that we do with the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. You can also find me on my channel, which is Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, where I go live on Wednesday and Friday nights throughout the off season. Wednesday, I cover the whole NFL, and Friday is the Lions Fan Cave chat. You can also follow me on Twitter, and you can follow me at SmokingJeremyB1 on Instagram.
And also, Jeremy Ballrick is, you can find him on LinkedIn as well. He's starting to build his professional profile real well, so check him out there as well. All right, Butch, you can wrap it up.
Oh, well, you can always catch me on Butch on Sports, that famous show. Matter of fact, in about an hour and a half, Butch on Sports to be on live again here. So, Butch on Sports, you can always go to Facebook at Butch on Sports, or you can go to just type in SIMPLYBUTCHTOO.podomatic.com, and you go straight to the page, the live page where all that happens. And also, I do a lot of stuff for WSOO Radio in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan there.
Yeah, I've been up to Sault Ste. Marie. It's a really great town. Meanwhile, right now there is a programming note. We will have another Fire Up Michigan next Wednesday night, same time, same place, same crew. So get ready and we'll update the Sharon Moore situation and the Wolverines coaching. We didn't have time to get it in tonight. At the top of the hour, just so you know, George Eichhorn and I go over to the Sports Exchange. So we want to thank everybody for joining us on this edition of Fire Up Michigan. On behalf of Butch Davis, George Eichhorn, Jeremy Ballrick, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Mad Mouth, thanking you for joining us on this edition of Fire Up Michigan. See you next Wednesday night. Same time, same place. Have a great week, everybody.